fire! Destroy it!
Was this truly the only way to defeat Sauron and destroy the One Ring? Hello and welcome to The Broken Sword, your YouTube home for the Lord of the Rings and all things J.R.R. Tolkien. In today's video, we look at why the One Ring was never just sent to the Undying Lands. Valinor.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
First things first, do not forget to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and all that great YouTube algorithm fighting stuff. In today's video, we take a common question that has been put to us by people from you legendary members of the Brohirrim, and we see what we can come up with by diving into the books and accompanying materials. So, we will look at the Council of Elrond, the state of Middle-earth during the Third Age, and we'll probably touch upon one or two other questions briefly to help us with our answer, such as, if the Valar still existed, why did they not come to dispute the dominion of Sauron, and why would they let such misery and suffering corrupt the world? Let's see what we can find out. Firstly, we need to address that kind of elephant in the room, the fact that this very question was addressed in the Council of Elrond, one of the more confusing chapters that my younger self had ever encountered during my first read-through, and I'm pretty certain, or at least hopeful, that I was not the only one with this opinion, but I feel like this is what makes the Council of Elrond such a great chapter. The more you learn about the world and its characters, the more you read the lore, the more those small bits of trivia and references kind of just pop up and you discover. It's just amazing. But as to the point of this particular video, why not take this One Ring across the sea to the Undying Lands? Well, this is what is said in the Council of Elrond chapter. Then if the ring cannot be kept from him ever by strength, said Glorfindel, two things only remain for us to attempt: to send it over the sea, or to destroy it. But Gandalf has revealed to us that we cannot destroy it by any craft that we here possess, said Elrond, and they who dwell beyond the sea would not receive it. For good or ill, it belongs to Middle-earth. It is for us who still dwell here to deal with it. This answer is predicted on the way the Valar and the people of Middle-earth interact by the time of the Lord of the Rings, and an important item to mention is that Sauron would never have come to the level of power that he attained were it not for the fact that Sauron, with pretty much certainty, knew that the Valar would not be coming over those seas. Plus, Sauron is of the mind that no one would ever destroy the ring. He is more concerned that someone will use it to supplant him. It must be said that his suspicion that no one would destroy the ring is pretty much correct after all. Frodo does succumb to the power of the ring on the very bridge where Isildur had stood so long ago and decided to claim the ring for himself as well. At the time of the War of the Ring, Mordor is by far the strongest in Arda, and even the unaffiliated dark creatures are enough to waylay the Fellowship, even if they are not under the orders from Sauron himself. Sauron had every right to feel secure in his position, as, getting to Mount Doom and passing by all his thousands of spies, the affiliated evil under his command, not to mention the Black Gate, the Samath Naur, and the lidless eyes which watch through the Tower of Barad-dûr. To think that a small company of potentially elves, men, or even hobbits could even get to that point was one hell of a stretch. It could be thought that if the Valar were in power, Sauron would never be able to get to the power he achieves by the start of this story and the kind of defenses he creates. So why would they be involved? If the ring was sent to Valinor and the Valar were willing to destroy the ring, what kind of precedent does this set for the peoples of Middle-earth? At some point, as we see from the work of noted science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke, childhood must come to an end, and the people's reliance on their greater, far more powerful paternal figures has to give way to some self-reliance. So, Elrond's response is in the vein of understanding. He knows that the time of elves in Middle-earth is coming to an end, and it is time for the age of men to come. The men must be able to account for the way their world is, as it is, without recourse to the Valar or for divine intervention. We have parallels with the voyage of Eärendil too, who took his blessed ship Vinci to Valinor to present his people's plight to the Valar. There are differences, of course, though. Morgoth could have been said to be of the Valar, and thus partially the Valar's own problem. He is fundamentally not of Middle-earth, and while the same argument could be made of Sauron, he is, after all, nearly godlike in comparison to the rest of the beings in Middle-earth, but godlike does not approach what his master, the first Dark Lord Morgoth, truly was. And also, if you would like to see a video really comparing Sauron and Morgoth, their plans, their ideas, and their powers, then please leave me a comment of the Dark Lords in the comment section below. But anyway, the Valar had to intervene with Morgoth, as it was beyond the ability of men and elves to do so on their own. What the inaction of the Valar in the Third Age might be implicitly saying is that this is not out of the hands of men, that they are up to the charge of standing up to this great evil. In many ways, this is a compliment, that the Valar are ready and willing to leave the men to their own devices and let them decide for themselves what their destiny will be. They sent them a small bit of help in the Istari, and that should be more than enough. Despite how foul and sadistic Sauron truly is, we know that at least Gandalf believes him to be wise. Given this quality, it would be doubtful that a single Maiar would be able to match might for might with a single Valar, much less with the whole of Valinor. Which is to say though, if they did truly try and send the One Ring across the sea, it is hard to not see it failing. According to the many spies that Sauron has in his back pocket, whether that be the Nazgul, one of them or all, it is likely that he would induce such a bloodletting each time the Fellowship attempted to take the ring over the sea, that it would become like a battle of the Pelennor Fields each and every day, and Sauron would be right to throw all his capable arms at anyone attempting to cross over. Dive-bombing foul beasts swooping down over wooden boats is itself enough to make the trip too costly to attempt and much too costly to achieve. It would be somewhat of an impossible mission. But to round things off for today, we have it from Tolkien himself, from his letters, what exactly Sauron had wished to do if he had won the war. Sauron desired to be a god king, and was held to be this by his servants, and if he had been victorious, he would have demanded divine honor from all rational creatures and absolute temporal power over the whole world. So there we have it. In summary, it would be nearly impossible to get the ring to the Valar. First of all, it is likely that the Valar intend to leave men to their own devices and allow for the children of Ilúvatar to finally grow up and take control of their own destiny. Secondly, Sauron was no fool. He would do all within his considerable power to keep that ring from crossing over to the Undying Lands. Whether this took one battle or 1,000, he would see the realms of Rivendell and beyond utterly destroyed before he allowed that to happen. And instead of marshalling his forces on the fields of Pelennor, he would attempt to siege Rivendell, and with 10 times the numbers that had besieged the Hornburg. And thirdly, and lastly, but certainly not least, if the Fellowship were able to simply put off their problems onto the Valar, it would not only be a very boring story, up there with the possibility of the Eagles simply carrying the Fellowship to Mordor, it would be a very different story and go against the themes of friendship and solidarity and the simple forces of good being able to overcome the forces of evil in the world. Professor Tolkien had a higher opinion of humanity than is sometimes believed, and this final compliment, that we are able to act in our own best interests, put aside our differences, and make our world a better place, might just be the greatest compliment ever paid to the audience and fans of this great professor, whose lessons are many and always timely. With that now though, it is time for my question of the day, which is, what do you think was Sauron's biggest mistake? Underestimating the will of men? Overestimating the lure of the One Ring? Thinking no one could simply walk into Mordor? Or something else entirely? Let me know your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section down below. And now to shout out our patrons. You guys have been incredible in supporting our short film, and we cannot thank you enough. We have the Divine Power tier members of Kevin and Abram, the Fire Demon tier members of Nishith and Gregory, and the Wizard Staff tier members of John, Andrew, Jennifer, Hunter, and David too. Every single one of you is a true legend of the Brohirrim. Finally, if you have managed to reach the end of the video with me today and you are enjoying what you see on the channel, please hit that subscribe button with the bell icon too, so that you can be notified of all future uploads. And so, thank you for spending just some of your time with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.